Okay, so the conjugate of surds. Okay, so let Z equals to A plus Z B. So the conjugate is Z bar or equals to Z star. So it's equals to A minus Z B. So let us look at some examples. So for the first one, if you have 2 plus Z3, so the conjugate is 2 minus Z3. If you have C equals to Z5, or can be written as 0 plus Z5, so the conjugate is Z5 or negative Z5. If you have 3 minus Z5, the conjugate is 3 plus Z5. Conjugate of sets. Sets A, the conjugate is set A or negative set A. If you have negative set A, the conjugate also similar to the first one where you have set A or negative set A. If you have the coefficient in front of the set, if it is positive, then the conjugate is negative. Now, if you have 1 plus set A, the conjugate is 1 minus set A. Okay, if it is minus, okay, so the conjugate is plus. Okay, now if you have 1 plus 3 set A, so the conjugate is 1 minus 3 set A. If you have both sets, for example, set A minus set B, so the conjugate is set A plus set B. Okay, so if it is plus, so it will become minus. Okay, so but then make sure that you don't have to change the operation in front of set A right here. Okay, we'll only change the operation in the middle. Okay, but now if you have set A minus set B minus set C, so the conjugate, we can find it by putting the bracket in front and then change the operation in the middle right here. Okay, so if it is minus, so this one becomes plus. Okay, or you can put the bracket at the back. Okay, put the bracket at the back, and then you have set A plus bracket set B. So this one is minus. Okay, not plus. This one is minus. Okay, so that's all.
Example 3. Rationalizing the denominator, multiplying the denominator with its conjugate is needed to change the denominator to ratio number, no square roots. Example A, if we have 1 over square root 5, so 1 over square root of 5, we can write down into term of A over B. So what to do is you have to identify the conjugate of B. For this case, the conjugate of B is similar number, which is square root of 5. Therefore, 1 over square root 5, we can multiply into the conjugate, which is square root of 5 over square root of 5. Then try to expand 1 times square root of 5 is square root of 5 over square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. Example B. 2 square root 3, sorry, 2 over square root 3. So still we can write down into 2 square root 3 into the idea of A over B, which is you have to identify the conjugate of B. For this case is square root 3. Multiply the expression with the conjugate. So going to be 2 over square root 3 times square root 3 over square root 3. Then we try to expand. Can get 2 square root 3 over square root 3 square root 3 is going to be 3, and the last answer is 2 square root 3 over 3. C. 3 square root 5 over 2 square root 3. So still we can say it is in terms of A over B, which is the conjugate of B here is square root of 3. And because of that, we can multiply with this conjugate square root 3 over square root 3. And we try to expand here, so it's going to be 3 square root 5 square root 3 over 2 square root 3 square root 3. If we try to simplify, it's going to be 3 square root 15 over 2 times 3. And we can cancel the 3 and 3 here. So the last answer is square root 15 over 3. Sorry, over 2. Example D. So say we have 2 over square root 3 minus 1. So we can write down into A over B, which is the conjugate of B is square root 3 plus 1. So multiply with the conjugate. We have 2 over square root 3 minus 1 times square root 3 plus 1 square root 3 plus 1. We try to expand 2 times square root 3, 2 times 1. So we have 2 square root 3 plus 2. Try to expand B square root 3 square root 3 going to be 3 negative square root 3 positive square root 3, and the last part negative 1 times 1 is minus 1. Then we try to simplify 2 square root 3 plus 2 over 2. Then we try to simplify again. The last answer is square root 3 plus 1. So we try another question. E. 1 over 7 minus square root 2. So we can say that it's still the idea of A over B, which is the conjugate of B here is 7 plus square root 2. So start with the multiply with the conjugate. 1 over 7 minus square root 2. With a big bracket here, the conjugates. 7 plus square root 2. 7 plus square root 2. All together with the brackets. And the next step is to expand. So 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times square root 2 is square root 2. Over 7 times 7 is 49. 7 plus square root 2 is 7 square root 2, negative 7 square root 2, negative positive is negative square root 2 square root 2. When we try to simplify the calculation, 7 plus square root 2 over 49 minus 2. And we try to look at the last, simplify 7 plus square root 2 over 47. Example F. So if we have two expression here, so you have to look at the conjugate separately. For part left, we have square root 3 over square root 3 minus 1. So we can write down into square root 3 over square root 3 minus 1, and the conjugates are square root 3 plus 1 continue by square root 3 plus 1. For the right side, we have 2 over 2 square root 2 plus 1, and followed by conjugates 2 square root 2 minus 1 over 2 square root 2 minus 1. When we try to expand separately, square root 3 is 3, square root 3, 1, we have square root 3 over square root 3 is 3, negative square root 3 plus positive square root 3, and then the last one minus 1 plus 2 times 2 is 4, 4 square root 2 minus 2 over 2 times 2 is 4 square root 2 square root 2 is going to be 4 times 2, positive square root 2 minus 2 square root 2, and the last one is minus 1. Then we try to simplify. 3 plus square root 3 over 2 plus 4 square root 2 minus 2 over 7.